Good morning, YouTube. This morning, I'm going to do a flight around the Grand Canyon, but before I do that, I wanted to show you all something that I kind of stumbled upon yesterday. I wasn't sure of how to go about it, but during the video or the flight yesterday, um, as we were flying to the Grand Canyon, I had used a new livery, and I was thinking to myself, I kind of would like having the carbon fiber livery that the Snack Air livery has. I wouldn't mind having that cockpit in the livery that I was using yesterday, which was the COVD on the tail number, and it was kind of gray and had green on it. Looked like it had a biohazard symbol on it and whatnot, which I could show that to you. Let me pull that up. So I installed my X-Plane on my local disk D drive because it's a 1 terabyte drive, and my C drive is a solid state drive, so it doesn't have that much space. I try not to put that much on it, and even so, with Windows updates and whatnot, I tend to lose space on that drive. So I install all my games onto my 1 terabyte. So my X-Plane is here, and if we go into our aircraft folder and Laminar Research, we have all of our aircraft. And within each of these is the libraries folder. So if I look at now I have 3 different Cessna folders here, and for anybody with a default install, they're only going to have 1. But these are 2 additional Cessnas. I either copied this and then created these directories with those names so I could differentiate them, or the download that I got for the plane, I just ended up extracting it here or something along those lines. One of the 2 happened, but in any case, I have 3 Cessna folders. So we'll just go into the default Cessna folder, and I'll show you the libraries directory. And this is where all of the libraries are that we can pick from when we're launching X-Plane before we fly. And here you can see I have the Jon Fly Carbon Edition, which is technically the Snack Air. When you load it and you're looking at the wing, it says Snack Air on it. And then within it, the cockpit is carbon fiber. So I was thinking, it would be cool to have that cockpit in this plane. And let me see how big these images are. So this is what we were flying with yesterday, and it just has, I think, the default cockpit. If not, it might have slight color variation. I don't necessarily have total recall, so I don't know for certain what the cockpit was like. But I remember thinking it would be kind of cool to have the green trim on the seats like the Snack Air library has. So what I did was I went into the Jon Fly Carbon folder, the objects directory, and I noticed these cockpit files. So it's DDS format, and you can't do anything with that by default. But I decided to Google it. So I typed in, I think from some further research I had done in the past, I had learned that the DDS can be converted to PNG. So, or either that, or I read it, or both. So I typed in convert DDS to PNG, and then I found this site, and I dragged one of those files over, the cockpit.dds. There we are. I just dragged that file over here and told it to convert to PNG, and you can do image. There's a bunch of different formats you can put things into, but I chose image and then PNG, and I clicked the convert button, and then a short time later, it has to upload it and it has to convert, but a short time later you get a download button, and then you're able to download that file and you can manipulate. You can open it. You can use Microsoft Paint or any other image manipulation software, and you can open that file and have a look at it. So within this file, while we wait on it, wait, did it finish? Sure did. Look at that. Alright, so let's launch that. Now we can see this is the seat belt, and then this is the green trim around the seat, and it's only this one little small thing. So what I did was I converted I didn't want the carbon fiber panel. I wanted the green trim and the seatbelt. And I kind of like the floor mats too, but the thing is the default Cessna has a beige color, not a gray color. And I didn't want to transfer these mats over to the Cessna file. So what I did was I cut these. I used Microsoft Paint myself, and then I used the selection tool and I cut these. So let me see here. Downloads. Open with Paint. So I'm opening the file in Paint so I can show you. So again, this is the Carbon Fly Cockpit folder. Now I haven't looked at any of their, like I downloaded it and use it, but when you do that, you might be committing yourself to not using this. So I don't know if I'm telling anybody how to do something wrong. So take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. But you know, if you wanted to change the color of your seat belts in your aircraft, or even the seats, I mean, we could change the colors here. So now I just took and selected it, and then I cut it. You know, let's see, cut, and then you can do Control V. So I went on to, you know, I copied it. Once you copy it, you get it into your Windows paste buffer. So I went over into my other Microsoft Paint with the default Cessna PNG file that I had converted, and I pasted it in there, and then I've dragged it over here, and I'm trying to line it up now, and just kind of off center just a little bit. I almost got it, and then I dropped it there and replaced the existing color seat belt with the Jon Fly Carbon Edition colored seat belt, and then I did the same thing for this. I cut and pasted that on top of the default, and then I had green seat belts and trim around the seats. Once I went back to that website and converted the file back to PNG, so we can go back. Let's see. I didn't look at the menu. I just backspaced. Went back to the main site. Choose files. Well, I didn't choose files. I dragged them over. And I did the whole process again, only this time I did it in reverse. I did a conversion from PNG to DDS. And then once I did that, I dragged the files back over to, well, since I had changed the default, since I had changed the default, I'm sorry, I was thinking there, but since I had changed the default cockpit and added the green, what I ended up going back in there and doing is copying that file back in there on top of the initial. Well, I didn't do it in the default Cessna cockpit. I mean, you could replace that file. If you go into the objects folder, I think that's where it is, cockpit.dds. You could replace the default, but I didn't do that. What I did was I went into the libraries, and I specifically chose waves or scratches. Now you see I made a copy here, so I could potentially copy, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that right now to show you. There's if we didn't want to mess with the file, if we didn't want to convert it from DDS to PNG and then have to save it back from PNG to DDS, what we could do if it sufficed us and we just wanted to have the carbon fiber cockpit with the green trim and the gray floor mats and all of that, and we're just happy and that's what we want, we could just go in here into the objects folder, and we could take all of the cockpit files here, copy those, and I'm just using hotkeys, but you can use the copy button up here, it does the same thing. And then we go into one of our other libraries. So what I'll do is I'll go into this one, And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this because I don't really want to change it. I'm doing this for demonstration purposes only. And I'm going to have to go back because I just copied that in my paste buffer. So we need to go back here and copy those 3 files again. And we'll go into our objects folder because that's what X-Plane is looking at. Now you notice it does not have any cockpit files in here. Well, we're just going to add them. Okay. And now let's launch X-Plane. So what I did, if you weren't able to follow along or if I was going too quickly, was I took the Jon Fly Carbon Edition cockpit files out of the objects folder that exists under the library folder. I took those 3 files that said cockpit and I copied them over to the same location for the COVD aircraft library, which is that gray and green one, so that we could potentially use that. And you know what? I didn't pay attention to whether or not I did it in the default Cessna location. I think I did. So we're just going to select this aircraft. We're still at the Grand Canyon National Park, which is where we landed yesterday. And since we copied those files that weren't existing into that new library folder that I tried yesterday, that biohazard COVID-19 library, let's call it that. It doesn't say COVID-19, but it says COVD on the tail, and that's enough to me to indicate COVID. So we'll call it the COVID-19 library, but I copied it in there, and now when this thing loads, we should have the Jon Fly Carbon Edition Snack Air library cockpit within this library. It will say Jon Fly on the cockpit, on the right hand side, on the passenger side. It'll say Jon Fly there, so we know who created it. But we have the carbon fiber here if that's something we so desire. What I did not copy, and I should make you all aware of this, there's another folder in there for all the dials, because all the dials in the Jon Fly are also carbon fiber. And that was one thing I really did not like, was the carbon fiber dials. But for those who are out there who want those, just copy that folder as well into the same directory that we copied those 3 cockpit files. And then you'll have all of your carbon fiber dials and whatever instruments that they're using in that library. I'm using the default instruments with the carbon or whatever. Essentially, I'm using the default instruments with the Snack Air carbon fiber or Jon Fly Carbon Edition cockpit. So if we step outside, you see that we have this aircraft now. The COVID-19 biohazard aircraft is equipped with the Jon Fly Carbon Edition cockpit. Alright, YouTube, that's all I wanted to show you. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Let me know. I will be happy to answer it or clarify more. I know sometimes when I speak, I might just get all confused in what I'm saying because I'm thinking 20 different things and trying to say just one of them. And that's a challenge for me. But in any case, if I led you astray somehow, or you feel, like maybe I left something out, or you have a question, or didn't understand, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just leave me a comment and I'll get back to you and let you know. Thank you for watching.